class, welcome back to World History 1. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today we are going to begin our two-part look at Islam. And in today's PowerPoint lecture, we'll be looking at the beginning of Islam and Muhammad's life. Stay tuned for the PowerPoint.
Okay, class, we'll now move into this PowerPoint on Islam, Part 1. And so, like I've started some other PowerPoints in the past, just a quick question. What do you think of when you hear the word Islam? And, some people may think of followers of Islam are called Muslims. Some people may think of the Middle East. Some people may think of Allah, or they may think of the Quran. They will probably think of Muhammad. They may think of other things that come up, maybe mosques, different things that you may think of. Sometimes people will link Islam with terrorism because of 9/11 or something like that. So we need to understand what Islam is and the history of it, and then the beliefs that stem out of the history of Islam. So we'll just look briefly here today at this. We're going to start off with Muhammad. Muhammad was the founder of Islam, and he was born Abu Hussein in Mecca around 570 AD. And later on, he changed his name to Muhammad, which means the praised one. Now, Muhammad was raised by his grandfather and his uncle, who were traders, and this takes place after his mom and dad died. Well, as his grandfather and uncle are traders, they travel quite a bit, and in their travels, they meet Christians. And Muhammad met Christians before Islam was founded. In 595 AD, he married Khadijah, who was 40 years old, and she was quite a bit older than Muhammad when they got married. And she was 40 years old, and she was a very wealthy lady. And basically, Muhammad settles down into a life of leisure. He's able to have the money to take care of things that he needs to and live the way he wants, and he has a life of leisure. And so one of the things that he does is he begins to go and meditate in caves, and this is where he's going to have his revelation. And in 610 AD, he has his first quote-unquote revelation from Gabriel. And in this revelation, Gabriel instructs Muhammad that idols are useless, so the uselessness of idols. He instructs Muhammad to submit to Allah. And Allah is simply the word God in Arabic. That's what it means. Allah is God in Arabic. So in English, we say God, and in Arabic, they say Allah. And it's the same word. The thing is that we must be very careful of as Christians is that we must understand that Allah in the Muslim belief and in the Quran, Allah there is not the same as God of the Bible. I've heard it in the past. Christians say, well, Allah is God of the Bible, or Christians and Muslims believe in the same God, which is not the case. Allah is the God of Islam, and the God of the Bible is the God of the Judeo-Christian belief. The reason they're not the same is that the God of the Bible is a triune Godhead: God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, three persons in one Godhead. Well, if you said that about Allah, you would be blaspheming Allah, because Allah, there is no triune Godhead. And if you said that Allah had a son named Jesus Christ, that would be blaspheming, because they don't believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God. They believe that Jesus Christ is a prophet, and a great prophet, but not the Son of God, and is not God. So we have to be careful with that, and if you're in a conversation with somebody about that, you may want to gently point that out in regards to the belief of the Trinity in the Christian belief, and how Allah is not a Trinitarian Godhead. So Gabriel says to submit to Allah, and then he also instructs that, or informs that there is an impending judgment coming. So this is the first revelation that Gabriel gives to Muhammad. And he goes out and tells his wife, and Khadijah, she affirms the revelation was from God. And this affirmation comes from her viewing Muhammad having some different mood changes. So she views that as affirmation. And also Uncle Abu, he also affirmed that this revelation was from God also. Now, on the right-hand side, you see a picture there of Muhammad receiving his first revelation from Gabriel. And Muhammad's there on the right, the angel on the left. And this is in Jami el-Tawarikh, which is a history book. And this history book was written in 1307, so quite old, quite an old picture. And really, it's quite rare that there even is a picture of Muhammad, because in the Islamic faith, drawings and pictures and things like that of Muhammad are forbidden. So it is kind of rare to even have any kind of picture of Muhammad. Chances are you would never see any kind of modern picture with Muhammad in it. But this is a very old medieval picture here that is shown on the screen. Okay, so let's just continue on with our story here with Muhammad. In 613 AD, he only had 13 converts. So after a couple years, he does not have a lot of converts. His religious expansion is going very slow. However, the leaders of Mecca, where he's at, they are getting a little concerned. And so their idea is, what we'll do is we'll kill him. But they decide they're not going to, because they viewed Mecca as a holy city. So they decided they're not going to kill Muhammad. But in 619 AD, Khadijah and Uncle Abu, they die, and Muhammad goes and remarries. And he ends up remarrying 12 times and has multiple wives. One thing of note is that his youngest wife, Aisha, she is 6 years old at the wedding, and then the marriage was actually consummated when she was 9 years old. So that was one of his wives there, and you see the ages there when the relationship began. On July 16th, 622 AD, there's an assassination attempt. But Muhammad escapes this, and he flees to Medina. And this is important for you, highlighted in yellow. The flight to Medina, this flight is viewed as the birth of Islam. So you'll probably see that again on an exam question. But I just want to let you know that the birth of Islam was actually the flight from Medina, and not necessarily the revelation in the cave. That's kind of starting his beliefs and a little bit of spread there. But the actual birth of Islam is the flight from Medina. In 624 AD, Muhammad and his band attack a caravan, and they win despite 3-1 odds. So they're vastly outnumbered, and they go and attack, but they win. And Muhammad views this as Allah's affirmation that he is to lead this new religious movement. Muhammad took 1/5 of the loot that was in this caravan, and he left 4/5 for the rest of the men. But even just those fractions that I give there doesn't really show or tell what how large it was. But his share was very large, and so him taking 1/5 of it, he became very wealthy. And the men that were with him became angry, because even though he left 4/5 to them, they had to divvy it all up amongst themselves, and he really made out. So the men become angry, and Muhammad has another revelation to affirm that his loot was basically from God. So you can't really argue with that, and the men can't argue with it. So he affirms that this loot's from God. He also begins to pray towards Mecca, and this is where it begins, where Muslims kneel and pray towards Mecca. In 631 AD, there's widespread attacks on the caravans, and he ends up conquering all of Arabia. And to get people on his side, or to get men to fight for him, he promised eternal paradise for anyone who fights and dies in his wars. And so people are looking at this as a way to maybe to get wealth, and also just to have this privilege or this blessing that if they die in the war, then they would be able to go to paradise. In 632 AD, Muhammad dies of natural causes, but had challenged his followers to continue to spread the faith. So just some quick facts about Muhammad. Muhammad never claimed to be divine, and so we can't be confused with the Muslims worshiping Allah compared to worshiping Muhammad. They do not worship Muhammad. You see the second bullet point there. Muslims do not worship Muhammad. They worship Allah. And Muhammad insisted that Allah called him to be a prophet. Number 4, there was incredible growth of Islam after his death. So once Muhammad died, things really spread quickly, and a lot of people in that region became Muslim. And it remained a cohesive force for over 1,300 years. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that it's not a cohesive force today. There are, obviously, it's a major world religion today, and there are millions and millions of Muslims. What I mean by that is that for the most part, Islam was able to spread and be a substantial religion in the areas that the different nations that had converted to Islam where they ruled. So if you think about the Middle East or North Africa, little parts of Spain, they were able to be a people group that had Islam as a religion. And even during the Crusades, even though the Christians came into the Holy Land and there were some victories and non-victories and whatnot with the Europeans, the Muslims still remained for the most part. And really during the 19th century, when the British Empire really took over a lot of area and brought in Christianity and kind of made these regions Christian, the Muslims were still able to be in those areas. It's just that Christianity had kind of brought in kind of a missional force from Great Britain. But as you know, we definitely have a strong Muslim population in the world today. Okay, so here's a picture of the Great Mosque. This is the main mosque for Islam, and that's just a picture. I just wanted to show you the picture before we get into details of it, because you can just see all the people packed in the mosque, and the whole focal point is right here, this black cube here in the middle of the mosque, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Okay, so it's located in Mecca. It's the largest mosque in the world. It can hold 900,000 worshipers. There are 9 minarets, and a minaret is the tall, slender tower with a balcony that is used to call for prayer. And so these are these towers here. These are called minarets, and you see some around here. And the Great Mosque has 9 of them. And also, I just wanted to point out that the person that stands on the balcony and calls for prayer is called the muezzin. Both of those are highlighted in yellow for you, the minaret and muezzin. They would stand on the balconies up here and call out the prayer. Now, of course, in modern times, they have loudspeakers doing this. A person doesn't go up there and call out anymore, unless maybe it's in a small village or a smaller area with a mosque. But for the most part, it's done through loudspeakers now. But at one time, the man that would go up there and call for prayer was called the muezzin. And one thing I wanted to point out is this black cube. What happens is the worshipers come here and they go around this cube, and this is the site for the pilgrimage, and that Muslims go on, and they peer in, and there's a stone in there, and they hold it to great significance. Okay, so that's it for Islam Part 1. I'll see you in a second.
Okay, class, that's it for today. Next time, we're going to get into the beliefs of Islam. I'll see you then.